Peace and love, family. Welcome to another powerful discussions with your sister, Dr. Maat. Tonight, family, I have with me the queen, and I've been talking to her a while about bringing her on, and I've been watching her. She has her own podcast and everything. She has her own salon, and she's doing big things. Has a documentary coming out. I have with us my queen, our queen, La Sister LaDoja Wright. How are you doing this evening, my sister?
I am officially super fantastic African magic.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Family, take a moment out right now to thumb up the video. Thumb up the video, share the video. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the attack on black hair. And yes, there is a systemic attack, okay, or systematic attack on black hair. It was a video, and I was outraged by it, family. And I'll let me pull it up really quickly. It was a video, and I'm trying to find it, Queen. If you could email me that video as well. I know I sent it to you. It was a YouTube video. I'm looking for it, but there was a video
I
that
can get
came
it
out.
to you.
Okay, please get it to me. So it's the video, family, that dropped a few days ago, and it was a video of a black child, a 5-year-old child, hair being cut. Literally, the 5-year-old's hair was cut off without the permission of, I don't know, was it a boy or a girl, Sister LaDoja?
It was a little boy. It was a little boy.
That's a little boy. Yeah, it cut his hair off, without the permission of his parents. But sis, we've seen this before, right? Like, we've seen our children compete in sports, and the judges and say, well, their hair doesn't meet the qualifications. You got it. And I remember a video went viral a few years ago. It was like a light-skinned boy with locks, and his white teammates, remember, they were cutting his locks off, before he compete. I forgot which sport it was, but I know
wrestling.
It was wrestling. Look, I know my stuff. It was wrestling. But yep, he was going out there to compete, and it was all his teammates. They started literally chopping off his locks so that he can compete. And Queen, remember during the Olympics, there were these caps that were made for natural hair and locks, and the Olympics said, "Oh no, we can't." It was a black-owned company who produced swimming caps for people with natural hair and locks.
Yeah, that came out of England. Yes,
and then the company said, "Well, I'm sorry, the Olympics banned it and said, no, you can't use these." So we see this constant attack on black hair. But family, let me read her bio. I'm looking at her bio right now. Okay, so Sister LaDoja Wright, she's an entrepreneur, she's an author, she's an activist. Okay, it says Wright's unique approach to cosmetology combines her career as a former outreach worker with her career as a cosmetologist, using trichology, the study of scalp and hair, to empower the masses to understand and care for their hair, using the right principles of the right products, the right tools, and the right techniques. I like that play on right. It says she is the owner. I'm sorry, I lost it. She is the owner of the Resurgence Design Team Hair Salon. She offers educational classes to licensed professionals. In 2012, she helped change an Ohio law regarding the education of cosmetology. To date, she continues as an activist and policy advocate. She has been featured in several local and national publications. She's published 3 books: Curly Hair Adventures and What They Don't Tell You at the Salon, and The Beauty and Barber Survival Plan. Her books are sold online at Amazon, Target, and Walmart. She is the creator of The Right, that's with a W, family, hair products, and The Right with a W polish. Wright enhances this dynamic phenomenon in her career as a consultant to various hair care companies and manufacturers. She worked tirelessly to collaborate with the Textures exhibit, The Art and History of Black Hair, of the Kent State University Museum, Ashe. Currently, she's consulting with the Ohio best top-selling world's first reverse hair dryer, Rev Air. In January of 2022, she was awarded a grant for the Ubuntu Hair Project from Neighborhood Connections that provides support for dealing with issues from hair discrimination. In 2019, Sister LaDoja was invited to Gambia, located in West Africa. For this invitation, she created Textures Intercultural Exchange 2019, a humanitarian and developmental aid endeavor to support and advance the education of cosmetology in Gambia and Senegal. She continues to host charitable events, donate her services, and raise funds for her library, the Wright Library of the Gay Enduro Skills. I hope I don't butcher it.
That's
Skills
right.
Academy, located in Banjul, Gambia. So it's an honor, my sister, and and a privilege to have you with me, with us tonight. And so, thank you so much for coming on. And so, family, again, please take a moment out to share this video, thumb up this video, and hold up, I'm getting the YouTube link together. Here it is. All right, so here we go. And this is from my boy. I really like this brother right here. Brother, the indisputable, what's his name? The indisputable Rashard Ricky. So I watch him a lot, family. I watch him a whole lot. And here it is right here. So this is what got me riled up. But I mean, sis, when I saw this, I wasn't surprised, right? Like, I wasn't surprised at all. Family, she's frozen, or am I frozen, family? Tell me in the chat, family, is she frozen or am I frozen? Let me see something. Oh, okay. Everyone says she is. Okay, because look, hey sis, they're saying that you're frozen.
Oh, okay. I'm here now.
Yeah, just come out and come back in. Yeah, they said because like everything just got silent. So I was like, family, am I frozen or is she frozen? And so then I text the chat and it's like, oh, you frozen? So you all are saying that she's frozen. All right, so family, let me pull up the video that literally just went viral. A video just went viral, and let me get this. Oh man. All right, my sister. So you're there. Okay.
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, good. So let me see what's going on with this video. I might have. All right, here it is. So let me share it, family. Excuse the hiccups. And let me make sure I'm sharing my audio. All right, family. So this is the news video that went viral of talking about like the teacher who cuts a Black 5-year-old's hair without the permission of his parents. And so this is the video that we're talking about tonight, and of course much more.
A school teacher decided it was her duty to cut the hair of a student, a 5-year-old student, without permission from anyone. This teacher has now been charged with simple battery and, ladies and gentlemen, is on the run. All right, let me take you to a place called Gwinnett County, Georgia. A Gwinnett County family says a teacher cut a 5-year-old boy's long hair in a class earlier this week. Family members said the child, named Jax, attends Rosebud Elementary School in Loganville, Georgia. Let me show you a picture of how long this hair is, okay? All right, now let me give you a little bit of background to this because once again, this is a violation not only of the physical well-being of the child, but also the spiritual, cultural, and ethnic expression of that child and the child's family.
Absolutely.
I spoke earlier today with Gerald Rose. Mr. Rose is a civil rights activist in Georgia. He has something to say about this. Mr. Rose said, and I quote, "We are outraged by this obvious violation of human rights. The teacher, who is white, a white female, and possibly racist, did this to a 5-year-old child and was expected to voluntarily come in for questioning, but did not show up. We stand with the family, and we are a voice for this youth." Okay? Now, the news has decided not to release the name of the teaching assistant who committed assault to this 5-year-old child. That is.
Let's pause. They never do that. When the victimizer is white They never ever. Well, we're not gonna show a picture. Half the time they don't want to even give you the person's name. But when it's us, oh my gosh, our faces are plastered all over the news. Our name is released, and this is immediately. This isn't, typically when the white person or when the person that who is the victimizer is white, people have to stay on the police about, well, what's the name? What's the name? What's the identity? We literally have to hound them to get the identity of the victimizer. But when the victimizer is Black, when the victimizer is Hispanic, just like the kid that got shot. Remember, we know just what just happened I think it was in Texas, right, at the school. Yeah. It was just another mass shooting. And when my aunt called me and said, hey, it was another mass shooting. This time it's at a school. A teacher was murdered and 14 students. She said the shooter was murdered. I said, oh, it had to be somebody of color. It was somebody Black or somebody Hispanic. Then she said, yeah, I looked at his name. And based on his name, she said his name was Enrique or something. I don't know. The people can tell me in the chat. But based on the name, she said, you're right. He was Hispanic. I said, because if he was white, they wouldn't have killed him. They would have ushered him in peacefully, just like they did Dylan Roof, that devil, and the other devil who shot our elders in the supermarket in Buffalo, New York. And so they never ever showed the identity. If the victimizer is white, they have to be pressured to reveal the identity of the victimizer. But I'm going to go ahead and continue.
The allegation. Local news will not release the name, but guess what? I will.
Maryland homeowners, if you're tired of paying too much money for electricity and have a history of paying your bills on time, then you...
Based on information from the police report that I was able to review earlier today, verified by those close to the incident, the name of this assistant teacher is Susan Williams, and she has been charged with simple battery. Let's talk about the family and they're outraged. The aunt of this 5-year-old child, Mick D, wrote on Facebook on Tuesday, a teacher cut Jack's long hair for no reason. The teacher then put the cut hair into a bag and sent it home with Jack's, all right? The teacher then put the cut hair into a bag, sent it home with Jack's. Our family takes great pride in our hair due to its sacred qualities, spiritual value, strength, and cultural traditions. All of that was violated here. D wrote, I'm outraged. D went on to say that Jax has special needs and she considered the incident as an assault. Let's put up a picture of one of the family members. Now, this is not only a violation of a 5-year-old, this 5-year-old is a special needs student, and this teacher has committed a physical assault against that child. Photos D shared on Facebook show the child with braids that are 2 different lengths and the cut hair in a plastic bag. The school's principal sent a letter to parents saying that the paraprofessional has been accused of taking inappropriate action against a student in her class. Let's put up a picture of the principal. Her name is Brittany Riddick. Now, in all fairness, everything that I've heard about Miss Riddick is positive. Good. That can turn if Miss Riddick does not do the right thing here. So far, we are expecting decent leadership out of this principal. Principal Riddick said that she contacted the district's Human Resources Department and school police, and both have launched investigations into what happened. The accused teacher will not be allowed back at the school, according to Riddick. Please know that I'm concerned about this situation as I care about all of our students, Riddick wrote. Thank you for your continued support as we continue to focus on teaching and learning, as well as the mental and physical well-being of our students and staff. Okay, so let me highlight some important elements to this, okay? Number one, there's this systemic disregard for the independence of Black families contextualized in school systems all over America. Now, think about this, the audacity, the privilege of someone to say, I'm going to take it upon myself, not...
The entire time he was talking, Sister LaDoja, I was thinking the privilege. It was, who the hell do you think you are, right? To take it upon yourself to cut a child's hair. Only someone who's walking around who has a privileged mentality. That's the only person that would do that. And that's that white privilege mentality. Yeah. She thought she had the right or the privilege to cut this child's hair. Queen, do you want to jump in?
She didn't think she had the right. She knew she had the right.
Mm.
I mean, even when we think about the Crown Act, the piece of legislation that is about to be introduced into Senate, we're all going to wonder what is really going to happen to any person or institution who decides that they truly want to discriminate against a person's, hair. So we still want to see how this is going to play out, because this is typical of this country to try to placate us with these little, holidays and, these little laws, knowing good and dang on well, nothing may very well happen. I highly doubt anything will happen to this teacher. And so hopefully, if what we can be able to do is to enter into the school system as licensed professionals, mental health experts, to really begin to educate the masses about, Afro hair history. And so I think you're saying like, oh, she thought, she felt, she knew she had the right to cut it. That's why she
Mm.
cut it,
Mm.
because she knew, like, what you gonna do? What's $150 fine to a teacher that's making well over, 40, 50, maybe 60, $70,000 a year? That's nothing to her. And she will get hired someplace else. She's a paraprofessional.
Mm. Mm.
To contact parents, not to engage in a civil conversation about long hair in schools, which, by the way, is not an offense, but I'm going to simply cut a child's hair. And now that the teacher is accused of simple battery, that teacher is not showing up for questioning, okay? Now, I'm okay with the school system's response at about 85%. I would have been much harsher than this principal, and rightfully so. At some point, we have to conclude that our true north are children. Now, remember, conservatives are going to tell you that the biggest issue in K through 12 education is critical race theory, a fiction they created for their red meat for their base. Not even real. Critical race theory not taught in K through 12 education at all. But here's the reality. We are in the midst of a cultural war where children are on the chopping block.
Come on.
All right, J.R. Jackson, what are your thoughts here?
All right, so that's family. That's why we're here today, to talk about this and just hair discrimination. So I do, Sister LaDoja, want to kind of go back to, let me turn off that. I want to go back to the Tignan laws. I want to talk about the Tignan laws and what they are and what they were. So could you walk us through that, Sister LaDoja? I have an article that's up if you want me to read it, but if you could talk about the Tignan laws for a little bit.
So we know that this, I believe he was a governor. And if I'm not correct, I believe the correct pronunciation is Tayan. And so here is this governor in Louisiana who decided, this is in the late 1800s. Is that correct? Is it the 1800s? And so
I think the late, about late 1700s.
Late 1700s, I'm sorry. So he decides that he's going to enforce a law where free women and also enslaved women actually had to cover their hair because their wives knew that the men found the Black women very attractive. Now, believe it or not, here in Cleveland, there's an organization called Cleveland Families that take children and they reenact Harriet Tubman's, Underground Railroad. And so my job was to come there and just kind of talk about this little law here. And so whenever I whenever I do this exercise, I always ask, why do you think they created this law to cover our hair? We had to, our ancestors rather had to cover their hair. And no one ever says because the hair is beautiful. They'll always say, oh, because it was ugly, it was nappy, it was kinky, it smelled. They never think that our hair was deemed beautiful. But when we look at the history of hairstyling in Europe and around the world of people who are out of Africa, we see so much homage to the the display of hairstyles going up. And
Yes, yes.
this is per Cheryl Morrow. She's a daughter of the legendary Dr. Willie Morrow. So we know that Tyen's Law, it was a little bit more than just the hair was ugly and cover it up. White men were very, very attracted to women of color. And so the women, white women, they don't talk about them in history, but they were not very nice to enslaved Africans. So that's how that law went down.
No, absolutely. And I like when you said they weren't very nice. They typically leave white women out of the history. But shout out to that sister. It was a PhD sister who wrote the book, They Were Her Property. And in that book, she talks about how you had just as many white female slave masters as white male slave masters, because those white males died and they passed down their property, right? And I'm going like this, down to their daughters. So their daughters would inherit, African captives. And so, but like you said, they don't typically want to paint white women as evil in history, when in fact they were just as evil as
if not more
than their counterpart. They said it was some white female slave masters who were more brutal. So you talk about white male slave masters torturing our African ancestors. The white female did a lot of the torturing. When you read,
we could understand why they were so torturous. They physically, mentally, psychosocially, emotionally, and spiritually had to observe their counterparts. Adoration or lust, or just even disdain for people of African descent, and whether they were enslaving them or not. That was something, to watch. So we can see why they were just so, vehemently, treacherous and debaucherous in their treatment of our enslaved African ancestors. So that's the part of history that nobody wants to talk about.
None.
But we see it's playing out when we see them, because it's the women that's cutting off the hair. These aren't male teachers who are doing this.
Right. It's not like you said, it's not the male teacher. You're right. Even when we see the different incidents, it's the white, it's Karen. It's Karen. It's Becky, right? Doing this. And so, I love when you said you went into school and asked them, why do you think they had them cover their hair? And you said none of the answers were because it was too beautiful.
Never.
So sister, right? That's telling. That's telling of what we think about our hair due to systemic racism. That's telling, right? If none of the responses were, well, I think they cut our hair off because our hair is beautiful. They said, well, they cut our hair off because they think that it was this, and they think, but never to say that they thought it was beautiful and they were jealous of our hair. And that's why they would have, that's why they made laws to have us cover our hair. Queen, I want to move on to the Crown Act. Could you talk about the Crown Act and what is it and what's going on with it?
So the Crown Act was introduced. Actually, it was passed officially. Believe it or not, almost 400 years to the date of the first enslaved African being brought to Jamestown in 1619. So in 2019 of June. Okay, that's almost to the date. They passed the law in California that banned hair discrimination via the Crown Act, which is an acronym, and it stands for Creating a Respectful and Open Workspaces, for people with natural hair. So this act actually is to forbid, all acts of discrimination on how people of African ancestry wear their hair as it grows from their scalp. And so, but when you look at the law, you kind of have to wonder, when they wrote it up, they didn't include men, So even the Crown Act has a little, they got some work, but they get an E for effort. And people really think, what, do we really have to have a law that, people, how they wear their hair? And the answer is yes. you know, a lot of people don't know what it feels like to work in a workspace where you have been told or eluded or microaggressions or whatever, you know, that your hair is deemed, you know, unprofessional or inappropriate. And the flip, you know, side is that, well, people have a right to representation, to how they want, you know, their company, you know, to be represented. And it's like, but who is that for? It's only for us. They don't just do that for everybody. They only do it to African Americans or people who have quote unquote Afro type hair, because white people who have Afro textured or type hair, they will straighten it out and you'll never even know they even have it because they already know. We better not show up because we don't want to be even accused or associated or thought of as what? Black.
Come on.
Yeah.
Facts. Facts. So in this Crown Act, and I didn't know that they you're right, it didn't include, but I think about it when I read up on
Yes.
it, it doesn't include, so it does not include men,
Yeah, it was
black
really
men.
more right. I mean, it eventually, you know, men and children were, and you know, embraced into the piece of legislation. But when you look at how it was put together, the men really didn't. You know, their issues around how they wear their hair, that wasn't really a focal point. When you look at the research, you know, what was was the hashtag was I think it was on like the age of 5 or something like that. So even when you look at the actual research that Dove used to use that as an initiative to create the Crown Act, you know, you see that there's a big gap, you know, where men, boys, and children were pretty much left out. And that's a lot of times cosmetologists were not included into these conversations. They continue to leave cosmetologists out of the scope of all of these practices. Except when it's time to push the law, you know, they came running to us. But we were like, y'all should have been coming to us in the first place. But I'm just a hairstylist. I ain't gonna say nothing.
No doubt, no doubt. And I see Brother Trobe said the question at hand continues to be, what are we going to do about the constant attacks on who we are? That is, we need to be involved in building what we call liberated zones, safe
Mm-hmm.
spaces for our men, women, and children. That's what we need. That needs to be the order of the day. Building freedom colonies, liberated zone, safe spaces for Black men, women, and children. That should be at the forefront of every person's mind. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to address that.
Yeah.
And so Queen, this is what I do want to ask you. Because I know you've studied the history of hair. Now, I remember, not that I remember, I wasn't even living back then, but I recall reading the history. At one point, Black women had the hair industry for us on lock. You know, the predecessor of Madam C.J. Walker. What was the sister's name? Because she used to work for her first.
Yeah, that was Annie Turbo Malone.
He said, so you had Annie Turbo Malone.
You
You had
had
your Madam.
Sarah Spencer Washington.
Oh, keep going, sister.
Yeah, you had Sarah Spencer Washington. You had the Fuller of the Fuller company that made the brushes. So, you know, so those were the prominent ones. Those were the preeminent families that set the tone. Cheryl Morrow does a much better explanation of this. But what we do know for certain about Madam C.J. Walker and Annie Turbo Malone is that Madam C.J. Walker would be considered the brand, whereas Annie Turbo Malone, she was the true, you know, the chemist. She cared about, she set the foundation for the care of the scalp and the science of it. And so whereas Madam C.J. Walker, she definitely saw, and you know, the need to, you know, get those products out, you know, into the public's hand. So you had two different school of thoughts on the approach to African Americans now, you know, having access to be able to do their hair, which I concluded, you know, which were my 3 principles. What all of them were saying was that Afro hair care, even in ancestry, you know, when you look at our history in antiquity, it was all ways about what? The right products, the right tools, and the right techniques, regardless regardless of if we were doing rituals, if we were adorning ourselves, and all the modalities and reasoning as to why we altered the hair, you had to have those three components in place. You just had two different school of thoughts of how they wanted to execute it. But when the stories are told by non-Africans and
Come
people who
on.
have nothing to do
Come
with the
on.
history of Annie Turbo Malone, you see a Trump, where Madam C.J. Walker was first. No, Annie Turbo Malone was first. And, where who's got the tax records and all this. Without a fact, hands down, Annie Turbo Malone, she rocked it. She was first. She did it. She was her teacher. And not that Madam C.J. Walker denied it, but the way education, the way they wrote it, we don't control the narrative. You see, so we're getting some things that are kind of, slighted and not all the way true. Not that we could ever really know the truth, but surely the narrative that we're being taught about Annie Turbo Malone and Madam C.J. Walker, they're not factual.
Yeah, and since so the narrative is that Madam C.J. Walker stole a formula and rolled out on her. That's
Yeah,
what.
but remember, to be honest, those formulas were being used by lots of other companies. I mean, that's no big secret, but people don't do their history. They keep wanting to go to Google, they want to go to YouTube. They have books on this stuff, guys. They're historians, and you guys talk about this all the time, which is why I'm so honored to be on this platform. That there are ways, to validate what's been taking place. And so those narratives about, who invented it first, that's a generic recipe, as there is in all shampoos and conditioners. I mean, after all, there's only so much grease, I mean, petroleum is petroleum is petroleum. So, that recipe was used by lots and lots of companies, but they did something unique. Annie Turbo Malone did something unique, and Madam C.J. Walker was ready to take it to the next level, and that is exactly what she did.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this. When was there a shift from Black women dominating the hair care industry to then Koreans, whites and Koreans now dominating the hair care industry? When did that shift happen? Was this like after Madam C.J. Walker died, or when did we see that
No,
shift?
so the shift, there's a book, it's called Styling Jim Crow, and it is by Julie Kirk Blackwelder. And so in this book, and I'm just gonna just knock it out the box. She's taking you on a journey of how white America stole the concept. Cosmetology has always been about public safety and sanitation. As a matter of fact, it's documented history that in order to even become a cosmetologist, you had to prove to the state that you were what? Disease free. You cannot have any, because you were touching the public. So remember, it was Annie Turbo Malone. They all knew that the bulk of our hair issues were around what? Hygiene. These were hygiene issues. And so once they saw that African Americans freed at this point, like they really on to something, they're doing something here with this hair. Now they wanted to get in because they saw all that money that was being made. When you listen to our podcast, The Dumbest Hit That People Say About Black Hair, Cheryl Morrow took us on a journey of how they stole the concept of flat ironing. All of this stuff was stolen, from our ancestors, but we think, oh, the Asians invented that. No, guys, this is our history. And so it was during that turn of the century, right after that pandemic, the Black Plague or the Spanish flu. You know how white folk do it.
Come on.
That at that point you saw a shift. And so that shift was the money made in the hair care products. And so, of course, we didn't have the money to, put stuff in the stores and all this, that, and the third. So they started stealing all of the stuff. And so we began to get pushed down, down, down. And then it comes the increase, of the imagery of what beauty was, which was, white.
Right. Right. And so that's where we see the shift. you know,
Yeah, I
and
would say
mhm.
right after, that I would say like during that Harlem Renaissance, the 19 right after the Black Plague, the Spanish flu, you start to see the shift, because that is when they're beginning to introduce, cosmetology as a practice. In your late 40s, you're going to start to see all of this come into play. And even till this date, this is 2019, so you're talking 1940-ish, all the way up to 2022, I'm sorry, there is a zero, and I do mean zero, contribution to the education of Afro hair and cosmetology. So when someone wrote in the chat, well, what can we do to solve it? We control the narrative. We write our own books. We teach our own people, and we're only going after those professionals who want to learn the Afro hair history as told from an African-centric perspective. And
Come
that's
on.
open to any and everybody who wants it, but it's got to be FUBU. It's got to be for us, and it's got to be by us. That's not racist. That's just the way it is. So that's definitely one of the solutions.
Thank you so much. And Queen, I gotta acknowledge our brother Uncle Ket is in the building. Abs you wear, the official pseudo killer, is in the building. Peace to you, brother Unc. I did see he literally just called me, and we were we were live. So I guess he probably was like, "Oh, I forgot that she was
Yeah, and
live."
he's going to be in the documentary. So I'm very honored
Oh,
to have you all, invite me into you all circle, because I was sharing with him earlier today. These are the issues as an African American licensed professional. We have to deal with all of this pseudoism that prohibits, it impedes, it impacts, it stymies, and it's very, very costly to consumers in a hair salon when it comes to their hair, because of all of this pseudo fake stuff. And that's why Cheryl and we have the podcast, The Dumbest Hit That People Say About Black Hair, because the only people who are suffering and who are truly paying are people of African descent with Afro texture hair in particularly. My texture, we could probably get through a little bit. But if you have a true like LeVar Burton, that Kunta Kinte character hair, hey, ain't no love for y'all. All the natural hair movement has killed the beauty, killed it just on
mm,
straight pseudo. So to
mm.
be on this platform, to have the opportunity to let the world know that half of that stuff is so fake, it is not in the spirit of George Washington Carver. This man, he didn't take a blender and some berries and avocado and mix it up. This guy was a master, chemist. Like, what are we thinking? We have a history. So all of this stuff of, putting food on hair and falsely interpreting, images
Well,
off the hieroglyph. This is not our history, guys. This is
so so
not our history.
so let me ask you this: to go back to George Washington Carver, what happened with him? What's the real story?
So the real story is that he was adopted, by a white family. And so apparently they felt that he might somehow get a little frisky with their daughter. So they had him castrated.
I
And
did hear that.
so,
I
yeah,
did know
and
that.
so he just had this natural knack and just, gravitated towards plants and flowers. And he, out of his own words, the quote was that he felt that the plants and flowers were actually speaking to him. And
Mm.
so he began his own, world of this synergistic blend of understanding all the multitudes, the infinite possibilities of what you can do with, in nature. And so none of that was pseudo, guys. And so he wasn't saying, take the peanut and put it in a jar and mix it up and put it on your skin. Come on, y'all. We got to cut this stuff out. And so again, to the person in the chat who said, what can we do? This right here, now I've wrote you several love letters, Dr. Maat, several love letters thanking you for having this platform, because a lot of African American professionals, we don't have the John Henry Clarks. We don't have the Dr. Benz. Not that they were perfect, because everybody,
Right.
George Brand, they was lying. Hey, they started, they tried. What we gonna do next? So you have this platform where the average homegirl like me, who's like in the trenches answering that question, what you gonna do, LaDosha? Are you gonna be part of the problem? You're gonna be part of the solution.
Solution.
I'm gonna be
Amen.
part
Come
of the
on.
solution. I'm on dr.maat's platform learning how to be unapologetically African, which is
Absolutely.
Ubuntu. This is humanity to express and do what's right for all people, not just people who have color. That's not Ubuntu. Africans ain't into all of that. Not the ones that I know.
You know what? I can't.
I'm just saying, this colorism got to go.
Yeah, straight up, it does. It really does. Colorism needs to be. It's crazy that we're still contending with colorism in our community in 2022. Like it's bananas. Like it's like my two sons, two of them are of lighter skin, and they were telling me that the perception of them, when people meet them, they say, "Well, I thought you were stuck up," or "I thought you were a pretty boy," or "I thought you were gay," or "I thought you were feminine," simply because you were light skinned. And they were like, and I was like, really, this is what you're going through? And they were like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like in 2022, and this is, like, so these are still, it's bananas that, we're still even going through this. But this is what happens when you don't heal. That's why healing, slavery was traumatic, right? Jim Crow was traumatic.
Yes.
The civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, drug infestation, mass incarceration, all of these police shootings. I mean, the list goes on. This is traumatic. And it's like, with us, we never, and I'm getting emotional right now. I'm trying to catch myself. We've never been in a space where we could actually just heal. And some people may say, well, Dr. Maat, what about Reconstruction, right? That took place, what was that, from 65 to 77? So some people may say, well, Dr. Maat, that was a period where Black men and women can breathe. You telling me about 12 years out of 400?
But look what they did to him, though. You have to read Black Reconstruction. There were a lot of people against W.E.B. Du Bois, and it wasn't white people.
I mean,
white people that was not.
But my point, Queen, is that we've never. Some people may say that was an era where we could breathe in America, but my point is that you're looking at 12 years over a span of over 400 years. That's nothing, in my opinion.
Right. They came back.
So when
they
right,
I mean, versus Ferguson. So
right, and so when have we, as Black people, or Africans in America, as what I would like to call us, when did we haven't had a chance to heal? Because when we get out of one era, here comes something else. We get out of this, then here comes something else. And so again, you still see these vestiges, of slavery because we have not healed. So, Queen, I want you to talk about now how this resurrection we see of Black women now becoming involved in the hair care industry. When did that emerge? Because now I see Black female college students creating hair care products in their dormitories. A shout out to his sister. I think her brand is called All Natural and it's spelled, some type of way. But, I see a lot of Black women now, getting back involved in natural hair care products. They're selling their products on social media and doing quite well. And so could you tell me what was the spark to that? So you had, at one point, we dominated our hair care industry. And then you said, here comes Jim Crow, right? Jim Crow and integration. And so here come the whites and Asians. And then they began to capitalize off of, Black hair, the Black hair industry. They took it over, they cornered it. And so now we're starting to see the sisters saying, hey, I'm coming for mines. What sparked that?
All right. So this is going to be a very layered response. So first and foremost, let's just keep it 100. What sparked it would be the internet. So social media began to open up the behind the scenes of what the licensed professionals were not looking, some of it was directly, some of it was indirectly, some of it was overt, and some of it was covert. So you have a lot of stuff that was going on in and behind the scenes of the beauty industry. That's one. Two, the influx of the weave. So once the weave came into the scope of beautification, that changed the entire, dynamics of what it meant to be a licensed professional, because the weaves did not require what? Zero education, even though an African American mathematician, by the way, by the name of Christina Jenkins, used all the mathematics in the world to create and patent the first and only systemic way of adding hair to the hair for adornment and for cosmetic purpose. Yeah,
Wow.
boo. Yeah, that's a mic drop. And so, but that
Yeah.
became exploited with the quickness. They wanted it faster and quicker. So once the weave industry came in, that pushed down what? Curling irons. So a lot of companies that was doing real hair and stylists that was doing real hair, they were pushing down, pushing down, pushing down. At the same time, you had this competition between, well, not competition, but just some type of a friction going on between people who were still doing traditional pressing curls, the true coiffing, all of this stuff. So the weaves are coming in, and right in the middle there, you had this pseudo world called the natural hair movement. And as licensed professionals, we were like, now, surely nobody's going to fall for this, right? Because we're in the hair salon working with the friction of chemicals versus weave, because we're at work, we're working. And then here comes little old me, I'm really a social scientist. I'm not a hairstylist by trade. So I'm watching the dynamics like, well, this is very interesting. On top, we see Dr. Joy DeGroo's what? Post-traumatic slave disorder. So I see this from a whole nother perspective. So in all of that, you have Joy DeGroo's post-traumatic slave disorder on the side. You have the weave, the naturals, going at it. And right in the middle, here comes this pseudo world of the natural hair movement that's doing the ultimate, that like no other company can, which would be Weight Watchers. And we call this what? The emotion quotient. So the pseudo world of the natural hair movement, they appealed to the emotions of what African Americans were going through while we were in the hair salons, bickering over weaves versus pressing curls versus relaxers and so on and so forth. And all of this is around what are unresolved issues, to your point of systemic or issues around what? Slavery. And so that's what you have with the natural hair movement. They're playing on people's emotions, because when you look at what's happening with Black women's hair, they still what? Hate it. They don't know how to comb it. They don't know how to wash it. We did a podcast on how often to wash hair. Really?
Wow.
Really? Really? So the natural hair industry, the natural hair movement is now coming to what? A screeching halt. And so the licensed professionals were like, we were just wondering how long y'all was going to go along with this. But unknowingly, and like I said, knowingly, the licensed professionals kind of shoo-shooed the social media, like ain't nobody got time for that. And we was like, well, we better get on these platforms. So again, thank you so much, because this is where our consumers are. They want to know the truth, the age of Aquarius, if you're into that stuff. People are looking for the truth. They're not just going to allow us to do their hair. Now, customers like, and you ain't going to have me here all day. You're going to get me in, you're going to get me out, and you ain't going to be charging me all this money, because they know the truth now. So what we gonna do? We have to do what the gentleman asked me in the chat. What you're gonna do? We're gonna meet the demands of the consumer, or else they're gonna go someplace else. So that natural hair movement, you can't hate the player. You can't hate the game, but you can't hate the player, because that's how it goes. The marketplace will determine your success. So the natural hair people, they jumped at it. They used this platform for what cosmetologists refused to do. And that was what? Empower their customers how to take care of their hair. But they couldn't. They couldn't, because the infrastructure of cosmetology doesn't promote that.
So to my question, you're saying that there became an increase, because I just want to go back to what the question was. There, so my question was, what was the spark, right? That made Black women say, I need to get back into this industry. And can you tell me what was it? Something concise. I just want to make
I would
sure I
say
caught
the
it.
emotion quotient, that I don't like my hair. I don't understand. I'm tired of paying licensed professionals to do my hair. I don't understand my hair. So that's where they were able to meet that need. And hairstyling is an emotional experience. People not coming to the hair salon because they want to look good. Let's just keep it 100. They could buy a wig if it boiled down to that. But nobody wanted to admit it. They don't teach it. But that's an African concept of hair care.
So what it was, the sisters were like, look, I'm tired of going here, and paying for these products. These products aren't working for my hair. So I'm going to create my own products. I don't want to continue to buy this. So that's when the sisters got tired and was just like, I'll just went back to what we were already doing, which is creating products for our own hair and servicing our own hair. So you said that was the spark.
That was the spark. Yeah. And they used this platform to answer those questions, because hairstylists the beauty industry was not taught by us. All of what we're taught in school, the bulk of it, 99.9% of it, has a European connotation. Africans, hair means something totally different culturally.
Yeah, it does.
And that's not included in the education of cosmetology. Black folk, we know it. But once we get these licenses, I got my license. Are you licensed? You forgot your culture. You forgot Ubuntu. You can't throw that out. You do know that, right? And it was like, so the people who was making the natural hair products, like, we didn't. Here's some Oshun shampoo. Here's some non-ether. We got some non-ether shampoo. You see what I'm saying? It's going, and then we over here like, well, we have some salicylic acid and we have some Paul Mitchell, and the other like, we ain't with that, sister. We're not with that. And we missed the boat. We have to admit it. We dropped the ball, but we had a lot of reasons why we dropped the ball. So I just got to keep going back to the gentleman in the chat. What are you going to do about it? We're going to resolve it by being here on these platforms. Thank you very much.
No
and
problem,
we're going to
Queen.
listen to what the consumers are asking, and we're going to do better.
Absolutely. And I see a comment, and shout out to DNR Multimedia and Talent Agency. Peace to you, brother. This brother is I love him. He's a huge supporter of the platform. And in fact, he interviewed me. He had a hair documentary that he's getting ready to put out. Brother, let us know in the chat. Is it available? I know that you put clips out, but I'm not sure if you finished it yet, brother. But please let us know in the chat if your documentary, or when your documentary will be available for public consumption. But he put a statement in the chat. He said, keep in mind, the military and the army only changed their prohibition of Black hairstyles in 2014. Okay, he's 100% right. They did prohibit certain Black styles in 2014. How do I know? Because I was in the military in 1998. I went to basic training in 1998. And I was at that time, the military offered, it was a program called the Split Out Program, which allowed you to, when you were going the summer before your senior year, you could go to basic training, come back, finish your senior year, and then do AIT, which is your advanced individual training, the summer after you graduate. And so I went that route because I wanted to get the Montgomery GI Bill to help pay for college. I only had like a partial scholarship. And so I was offered a partial scholarship from the state of Maryland, and my SAT scores were crappy. And so, my scores from high school were great, but my SAT scores were crappy. And so I was offered like a partial science and technology scholarship from the state of Maryland. So I said, I need to supplement this with something. And so that's why I went into the military. Well, anyway, while I was in basic training, I'll never forget, I'm starting my locks, and I have my, wearing BDUs. So I'm in, my hat and my uniform. And the drill sergeants constantly made comments about my hair. And my rebuttal to them was, well, sir or ma'am, or drill sergeant, you know, if it's a captain or it's command, you know, officer, you sir, ma'am, drill sergeant, sergeant. But I would say to them, look, as long as it's not touching below my collar, I'm in regulation, you know. And so it got to a point, and I'll never forget him. His name was Drill Sergeant Shookman. I'm calling him out. Drill Sergeant Shookman brought me into his office. I was there with my battle buddy. Shout out to Sister Danelle Alston. That was my battle buddy. And he called us into the office, because back then they wouldn't speak to you without a battle buddy present, because there was a lot of stuff going on in the military. So she was standing there with me, Danelle Alton. That was her name. I think I butchered it initially, Danelle Alton. So she's sitting here to my right, and I'm in front of the drill sergeants. And it was 3 of them, Drill Sergeant Shookman and 2 other drill sergeants. And they said, Bailey, so let's talk about your hair. They wanted to have a discussion with me about my hair. And they said, you know, we don't understand. You know, you have these dreadlocks. They kept saying dreadlocks. And I told them, and this is at the time I was 17, LaDosia.
Oh, wow.
17. So I'm in front of these 3 white men who are questioning me at 17 about my locks. So at that particular time, I was into the church, but I kind of was on my Hebrew Israelite tip around 17, 18. And so I'm reciting Numbers chapter 6. I don't know if it's Numbers chapter 6 or Numbers chapter 7, when it talked about the Nazarene vow and how Christ let the locks grow and how it was a sin to cut off his locks. So I'm going in. I'm not cutting my locks. It's against my religion. It's against my. So when you say that, now they got to back up off of you, right? Because they can get sued for that. This is against my religion. I took the Nazarene vow. I'm letting the locks of my hair grow. I can't cut my hair, and I'm not going to cut my hair. And that's what I said to those drill sergeants. And I still have my hair. You see, I have my hair.
All right.
And I've had all of this.
Beautiful.
Look, all of this is mine. I've been growing this since 1998. It's just wrapped up, and bundled. And what made me go natural, and salute to Anthony T. Browder. His book, I don't know if you all can see it because of my light, From the Browder File by Anthony T. Browder. In this book, Baba Browder has a chapter called The Politics of Hair. It's on page 101. And I read this book when I was 15. And after I read this book, here it is, The Politics of Hair. So in this book, and let me go here. Let me cut the light off. So from the Browder File, in this book, it's just a collection of essays. All right, 22 essays on the African-American experience. And so in this particular chapter, the politics of hair, Anthony T. Browder talks about how the way we wear our hair, we're making a cultural. So I love Sister LaDosia when you kept saying it's our culture. You know, we're making a cultural statement. The way we wear our hair, we're making a cultural statement. We're making a political statement. The way we wear our hair, it's a part of our culture. So when you see our brothers and sisters with locks, whether it's a perm, because I always say everybody with locks, you know, isn't conscious, and everybody with a perm ain't blind. I think Erica Badu said that as well. And so it's the way we wear our hair. That's a thing to African people, whether you're in America, somewhere in the diaspora, or on the continent. It's a part of our culture. The way we wear our hair, we're making cultural statements. And so when you deny us or try to deny us of the way we wear our hair, essentially you are attacking. This is an attack on our culture. And so when Baba broke down the politics of hair, when I was 15, after 15, I never permed it again. Then I went to my mother. I said, Mom, look, you know, I don't want to wear a perm. I want to wear my hair natural. And she was like, well, what are you going to do with it? Like, what are you going to do with it? Because, you know, my mother wears perm. So she, you know, her 15-year-old teenage daughter's coming up to her saying, no, I don't want to wear a perm anymore. I want my hair to be natural. And so she was like, well, what are we going to do with this? Because she wasn't accustomed to taking care of natural hair. She was accustomed to slapping a perm in my hair. And so I had to figure out creative ways to wear my hair while my perm was growing out. And then when I turned 17, I went to her and said, I want to lock my hair. And then she said, well, I want you to think about that because it may be hard for you to get a job. So she, she was aware of hair discrimination.
That's right.
And she did not want me to have to deal with that when I got older. And I just told her, I said, Mom, I refuse to not do what I want to do with my hair because of some person denying me from a job. It's my hair. And so anyway, I locked my hair, be being rebellious, 17, locked my hair, and it's been locked ever since. And I'm not gonna cut it until maybe I go through maybe if I go through menopause and it starts thinning. Because I don't want to be one of those people, Sister LaDoja, coming to you with 2 locks in the front.
You're so funny.
LaDoja, coming to you. I know they come to you, Sister LaDoja, with 2 locks in the front. It'd be a lock over here, lock here, one over here, 2 in the back, and the hairline is all the way back. I don't want to be that person.
You don't want to be that person.
No, and I'm knocking on the door. So I said, well, maybe I may, start, cut it down around that time. But anyway, I did want to share my experience once I saw his comment about the Army.
You should also know that Dr. Willie Morrow is the first and only African American who was awarded a contract with the government where he taught the government how to cut and manage Afro hair and beards. And so, again, this is why we were kind of confused about this whole hair discrimination, knowing that the Pentagon, the government, they awarded this man a contract to ensure that this would never happen. So they flipped back on that. You know what I'm saying? So this is why the Crown Act really would be important. We don't know how it came to that, but that is the actual fact in history that Dr. Willie Morrow, a barber, he was awarded the only African-American probably ever to teach the United States, all the armed forces, how to cut and care for Afro texture hair. So when you check out my documentary, you'll get a good dose of Dr. Willie Morrow.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And when is your documentary coming out, Queen?
So the documentary is slated to come out 11/11 of 2022. So we hopefully will have a treatment to enter into some film festivals. So I'm going to do my best to do again. But I got to keep saying the brother in the chat who talked about solutions. This will not be a documentary of a throw up sessions or anything like that. We're definitely going to offer some solutions and encourage all to help us change the narrative, which is what you are giving us the opportunity to do, because I'm seeing some of the comments come up in the chat about, the ridiculousness that's taking place in the beauty industry. We are doing our best, to make a big change. And so again, this platform, this is out of the scope of cosmetology. We're not often even ever invited or considered, but Kent State University, the country of the Gambia has been so gracious to the world of cosmetology. So I want to represent well. I do see my fellow cosmetology instructor, Miss Denise West, is in the chat. And so we are doing our best to, like he said, be solution oriented. And we could do better as licensed professionals. We could definitely do better.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And DNR Multimedia and Talent Agency, he said that they're still in production, family. And so as soon as we know when his documentary is going to drop, when I get the word, you'll get the word, family. He said the Browderfowl book plus the Nazarene vow not to cut your locks, plus that Baltimore and a sister, they didn't have a chance. They didn't. He's not lying. I came to that office. I was ready to go.
Yeah, but that's how you make it. To answer his question, what are you going to do about it? You do what you did. If everybody could have the spirit of Dr. Maat, which you have had a lot of people on your platform talk about that Maroon spirit. I love that.
Come on, that Maroon spirit.
Yeah. We have to be bold like you. I'm sure that was at 17. I'm like, woo, girl, you was bold.
I was, and LaDoja, to be honest with you, and like he said, the Baltimore in me, in Baltimore, it's a lot. It's a lot going on in our city, and it's a lot that our children contend with. And I give thanks that I had a mother. I was raised in Baltimore County. I used to go to Baltimore City because my grandmother lived there. My family, a lot of them lived in Baltimore City. So I would go into the city and hang out there on weekends during spring break and during the summer. So I was around, some firecrackers. And so he's right, that Baltimore, woo boy, coupled with the little bit of knowledge I had at the time. I thought I had some knowledge at the time. And, I was on my Hebrew Israelite kick, and, because the Hebrew Israelites used to be down at Lexington Market. So I used to sit in with them like, yeah, I'm going to let the locks of my head grow. So I took that, and then I had this. And so they were sitting there, they were talking to the right one. They were talking to the right one, Queen. But look, and I'm glad that you brought up the Maroon spirit, because I'm going to go live one day this week. I saw it's an organization, it's a Black business. So I don't want you all to say, she's going after this Black business. I've even supported this Black business. It's called Melanin Apparel. I've purchased T-shirts from them and everything, So shout out to Melanin Apparel. But I am going to call them out because they have a T-shirt that they're selling on their website, and it says, "Dear racism, I'm not my grandparents. Sincerely, these hands." And I don't like that T-shirt, And I emailed them. They haven't responded to me yet. But I'm gonna go live and talk about why that T-shirt is problematic. You acting like our ancestors were weak. And I really want the people to know. See, that's the problem when we teach the Ma'afa from a position of being conquered than the conqueror. So what I mean by that is this: when we teach the era of enslavement, right, and colonization, people say, well, you lost, they conquered you, you lost. No one will tell you that everywhere there was slavery, there were Maroon communities. Okay. Yeah. Everywhere there was slavery, there were Maroon communities, i.e. freedom colonies. There were over 500 freedom colonies in Texas alone. Yes. Everywhere. And when I say freedom colonies, I'm talking about colonies the size of whole towns and cities, okay? That where our ancestors, where they left. They won't tell you about that. They won't tell you. And some people say freedom colonies. Some people will call them Maroon communities. Some people call them quilombos, right? But everywhere there was slavery, we had our own free colonies, our own free communities. I have letters from Portuguese people to the king when they were in Sao Tome and Principe, which are islands off of the coast of West Africa, begging the king to send a military because they were scared of what was good, the quilombos or the Maroons. They were scared of them. You get what I'm saying? And so we had our own territories. They don't teach us that. They don't teach our children that even after we establish these freedom colonies and these quilombos or these Maroon communities, that we will go back to the plantation and burn the plantation down. They never teach that history. And so when I sit and look at young people create T-shirts like this, it's telling me that they don't know our history. To think that our ancestors were weak people, they don't know our history. Because a lot of the stuff that our ancestors did back then, we aren't even doing it right now in 2022.
Right. And the simple fact that you're here. We have these types of conversations at the salon all the time. And, we have to say, well, how weak were they? You're existing, you're standing. You don't think you just popped up out of it like, hey, gazoo, So yeah, we definitely have to do that. And we have to, speak the language, of the young people, find a way to get it in. Hair is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way to slide in all types of history without people realizing that they're getting history. Hair care and hairstyling is a wonderful way to just kind of open up some closed spaces and some closed minds, because people will do a lot of things for their hair that they won't do for their heart, their lungs, their kidneys. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes we have to be really creative as to how we want to get the information out to these younger people, because in their face, sometimes it just doesn't work. But at the same token, like you said, we just got to be up in their face and say, hey, Melanin Apparel, back up, And so I've had some concerns about some of their stuff as well. So kudos to you for saying something to them, because they're young and this is what we're here for. We have to guide them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And brother FBA Nigel, he's funny. He said Dr. Maat was a county kid. Absolutely. And a county kid that went to private school for middle school. Absolutely. Absolutely. I won't deny that. I embrace that. I know I'm not from the hood. I'm not from the hood. Every black person in Baltimore isn't from the hood. So absolutely.
I'm from the hood, Dr. Mine. I'm gonna tell
Hey,
you.
hey, look.
I'm from the projects, y'all.
Look. I used to be in the hood because, of course, your family. You know how it is, LaDoja. Your family around the way. So I'm around their way.
I'm like that comedian. I'm real projectish.
Hey,
I mean, I get a little professional, but catch me outside. I'm all AMG.
Come on. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
I was radicalized by Public Enemy.
Look, and see, that's where I got my edge from. If I would have never had family in the city, I would have never had that edge or that experience. So I give thanks. I give thanks for my grandmother and where she was living over east and spending that time there to be around my people, whether they were in the suburbs or whether they was in the city. You get what I'm saying? And just know, yeah, exactly. And so love it. So brother FBA Nigel, yeah, brother. Look, KC said, I'm a suburban girl too. Right. We proud of that, brother. We proud of that. But guess what? I guarantee you go to Baltimore City, they know my name. They know my name, LaDoja.
I know.
Hey, look, look, LaDoja. They know my name and McCullough Homes Project, Latrobe Homes Projects. Go down there and ask them about Dr. Maat and see if they don't know my name.
I travel to Baltimore every other month. So remember, I came there one time looking for you. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't able to hook up, but I love. Yeah, I'm always in Baltimore at Druid Heights Community Center. They were very influential. Mrs. Asley Fisher, very influential, very instrumental in helping me get to the Gambia. So I have mad love for BMO, and I love y'all day parties.
No problem. Yes. So, Queen, do you have any closing words for the listening audience? Any closing words?
Yeah, I just want you guys to know that the world of cosmetology, where we are about to put them on notice, African-centric style. So we're definitely going to do our best, to put the information out there correctly. All of my books, I have my children's book, Curly Hair Adventures, and I have my self-help book, What They Don't Tell You at the Hair Salon. All of my hair care products, nail products, everything is available at my Amazon store at LaDoja Wright. And then, of course, you can catch me on all the social media platforms to learn more about the documentary, The Narrative. And anybody out there that wants me to be on their platform to talk about the documentary, please, reach out to me. And of course, I would love to come back and talk a whole lot more about the history of Afro hair.
Let's do it. Let's set up something, Queen. If you could get, a nice slideshow presentation together, that would be phenomenal. So we just could have visuals and things.
Yeah, just like a Q&A. We can bring Cheryl Morrow with me. She's I call her unapologetically brilliant. Please go check out our YouTubes and the dumbest hit that people say about black hair. She's brilliant at breaking all of this stuff down. So you're not wasting any more money or time when it comes to your hair. So again, just thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Queen. And Sister Amina, thank you so much, Queen. I just read your comment. Appreciate that. And then look, someone else, she said, Sister Rashida Ali, she said, oh, yeah, the day parties are all that. LOL. She's a bear. I didn't know you were a bear, Sister Rashida. She said she is a bear. You see, I'm rocking my
that's my BFF from the ATL. She representing.
Yes. Peace and love to you. Love me fro. I think this is a sister from out of the UK. So peace and love to you. Yes. And then lastly, our brother, he said that's so important what the sister said about the brother who the Army hired to do black hair. We need to hear more of him. We'll be looking out for that documentary. Bless up. All right, family. I'll be back live tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with brother Imhotep. We're going to have a part 2 discussion about the Buffalo massacre. And he said that he wanted to discuss, and hold on, family. Let me tell you exactly.
And while you're looking that up, connect me with the brother who's doing his documentary. I would like to, reach out to him too.
Okay, got you. Will do, will do. He says Buffalo Massacre Part 2, isolated incident or systematic assault. Is this an isolated incident or systematic assault? You already know I'm going to say systematic assault. Right, hands down. You already know, hands down, hands down. And I'll definitely connect you with that brother on. I'll connect you to via IG. Okay.
Okay. Cool beans.
All right, family. So join me back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace and Black Power.